Welcome, everyone. I'm here with David. We are looking at the Draw Steel Crack the Sun Kickstarter at 1.12 million now. For sure, that's gonna fund. Maybe even the first day that'll fund. And they got like 26 days left to go. Their first Kickstarter was on the order of 4.5 million, and they delivered. They delivered that thing early, I think, actually. Shipping hasn't been early. There's been a lot of stuff. They're just shipping it as they print it, kind of thing. And we'll talk about this project. They're going to kind of do the same thing, where as soon as the PDFs are ready, you're gonna get them, and then they'll ship books in pulses or batches to get those to you as they print. So that's interesting. It's a really, really cool way, I feel like, in like a more modern way, to plan out a year. Like they have their whole year planned out with this Kickstarter, and we'll look at the schedule. They have the schedule here in the Kickstarter. So it's like all of 2026, kind of announcing what's coming in 2026 and funding it for the cost to produce it. And they pay very well. They pay top
Yes.
dollar, I think, for their writers and top dollar for their artists. So that's just good for the industry that's happening. A lot of people gaining employment that way. So it's all really interesting. And a real big counterpoint is D&D. Well, we don't know what the 2026 plans on D&D are, right? I haven't heard. There's rumors of stuff. There's the rumors of Dark Sun, which is interesting that they would pick Dark Sun. Did they pick that to fight directly against MCDM with Crack the Sun? I would love to know what their thoughts were there. Or were they already planning it ahead?
I suspect the thoughts were, what is a big campaign setting that has a fair amount of mind share or nostalgia
Yeah.
in the past? And they didn't arrive at Birthright or Mysteria,
Yeah.
Mistra.
Sam, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Sam wrote some of the Encounters book. The Encounters book looks pretty cool, Sam. I don't know if you can share what parts of it you wrote or not, but it looks pretty neat. They have, if you're a Patreon for MCDM, you can get one of the encounters in there. It's a level 1 encounter, 3 basically areas, like a 3-area dungeon delve. And it looks like they're going to have maybe 2 for every level. And you can kind of really plan out your draw steel as a director or GM, plan out what will it take to get to the different levels and how much time, because they give everything to you in victories. So like they're talk about it, we'll look at the Kickstarter here for Crack the Sun. How many victories are in each product? And you need 16 victories to gain a level. So you can plan it out. And of course, as a DM, you can change that. You can say, no, we're going to do 8 victories per level. Or no, we're going to stick with 16. Or no, we're going to go with 32. And you'll pretty quickly get a good feel for how long it takes you to do that many. Like, I think most sessions I can probably do 4. And that's like a 4-hour session. And so it's going to take me 4 4-hour sessions per level for the Crack the Sun adventure book. And it's going to be 5 levels. So that's 20 if you play like every the weekend, so you're looking at like a year of adventuring. The Delian Tomb was amazing. It was $9 for, I want to say, 8 or 9 sessions. So they, pack a lot of gameplay into their PDFs for a low, low price, for sure. Thanks for joining us, Sam. It's cool that you're in the Encounters book.
Right, that change to victories and that being the level up mechanic really establishes sort of an outline for their adventure. I remember back in the day, designers of D&D adventures had to have an XP budget that they can expect the players to gain through the course of a level, so they'd have enough to level up to the next stage of the adventure. And then somewhere along the line, the designers just decided that was too much trouble. So they started making adventures that probably didn't have enough XP in the levels, and I don't know, left DMs out to to figure it out.
Figure
And
it out,
then
right?
they just punted and said, oh, we're just going to do milestones. So
Right. Yeah, if you look back at, like, everyone says Dragonlance is a railroad, right? That you're just going through the book motions. But if you look at the first Dragonlance adventure, DL1, it's got copious amounts of random encounters and encounters you get by exploring the wilderness and encounters in the dungeon and stuff that weren't in any of the books because they probably had to fill in the XP budget to make sure you could level.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Good observation.
Sam also says he wrote 5 of the negotiations. The victories becoming XP system makes designing adventures so much easier. Yeah. Yeah. Negotiations, cool. 5 of them. I have a lot of fun with the minutia, mechanics, and all that of Draw Steel. It's just kind of player I am, DM I am. I enjoy that kind of stuff. And so it's been a lot of fun learning to play it.
The minutia? What exactly do you mean by that?
Just all the details that are ingrained in the system. Just, there's basically a modifier for everything, pretty much, right? It's not like a old school adventure where it's nothing's really written out and you're just kind of judging on the fly, which I'm good at doing those too. I don't mind those at all, and I like them for a different reason because those give you a lot of exploration of the world that happens, I think. But Draw Steel's got a lot of well thought out mechanics, which I enjoy diving into, sorting out, making sure I know what they are. I should bring up my quick reference sheet just to give you an idea, like all the stuff that goes into a modifiers for attacks. Pull that up.
Draw Steel really stands out for having very mindful, very carefully thought out decisions about everything in the design. Whereas sometimes I feel like you read an RPG and it's kind of a amalgamation of the designer's favorite mechanics from other games.
Yeah.
And they didn't really think out what's the problem we're trying to solve here, where are we trying to go and innovate or bolster strengths.
Yeah. AJ Foss, I played Road to Broadhurst with my extended family over Thanksgiving and they loved it. That's a great adventure too. You got 2 combats, you got 1 montage, you got 1 negotiation. So you get just real quick feel for how the whole game works. And it's got pre-generated characters in it. So it really works out good. Sam says we tend to have a few sessions that might have 0 to 1 victories and then one that has 4 or 5. Yeah, if you're doing a lot of exploration, I could see that happening, like in and around the village of Broadhurst. I agree. I like how the building blocks are codified. I find 5e very loose to design adventures. Draw Steel much more straightforward. Oh yeah, for sure on that. So here's an example of me going through just and finding all the attack modifiers for when the attacker is climbing or riding the target, has enemies adjacent, is flanking. And to flank, they have to have line of effect, and they have to be able to take triggered actions. And if they're frightened, and if they're grabbed, and if they're hidden, and it's got all this, all this stuff. And I have the page reference there too. Most of it's where you'd expect it, but every now and then there's a little thing that you got to find somewhere where you wouldn't expect it. And I often run these games real quick when they're in early alpha testing or beta testing, and I really enjoy digging into the rules and mining the rules for the details of things like this. Example might be moving a grabbing the same size. There's under movement. Oh no, it's a maneuver. As a maneuver, you can take someone you have grabbed and move them to a vacant space adjacent to you, and that's on page 77. Whereas maneuvers are on page 273 through 274. So there's little nuggets that you got to kind of pull out. And this quick reference sheet, I did all that. So it was a lot of fun for me. Amit, hey Amit, thanks for joining. Dealing Tomb was an amazing experience for what you pay. I feel it could have gone even longer if we wanted. It could have. Yeah, there's one area in part 2, which is kind of the open sandboxy part of it, where you just didn't follow up on those leads. But I kind of like that. I kind of like an adventure that you don't have to follow everything up on, right? You got goals and you decide where you're going.
That's super key. I think people are always uncomfortable with adventures where they have to dutifully follow one particular lead, or maybe don't even feel a particular motivation to follow that lead, but they know that the adventure expects them to do it. So they just go along to play along.
Yeah,
and,
Sam says Crack the Sun's going to have a lot in it to fill the void.
Yeah, we can circle back to that if we have a chance to talk about Matt Colville's sort of design vision that he wrote up for Crack the Sun.
Yeah, which you can go, I think he opened it up to everyone. He first wrote it for the Patreon, but I think he opened it to everyone. There'll be spoilers abounding there, so if you want to play the adventure, don't go read it. Let's go. If we keep talking like this, they're going to be over their 1.25. They're going to be funded before we look at what the campaign has. Let's take a look at what the campaign has in it. So what we're funding, you got 7 new products in the crowdfunder, all delivered digitally in 2026. So some of the hardcovers might go into 2027, it looks like. So you have the Encounters book, which is a third rule book, basically just as big as the others, or roughly as big as the others. Ton of pre-made encounters. And like you saw, Sam was writing negotiations. They talked about montages being in it. They talked about NPCs being in it. And of course, adventures that are in it. So that's going to be a huge resource. Between Sun and Shadow, with 8 new ancestries for the game, bringing it up to 20 ancestries. A whole new class, the Beast Heart. 4 new adventures, the Red Road for 2nd level, and they give you the number of victories there, 5 to 6. The Dark Heart of the Wood, another 2nd level. The Condemned, now this would not fit into the ongoing campaign because it's different pre-generated characters that they're trying for this adventure. Anti-heroes, ready to play, 3rd level, 16 victories. And then Crack the Sun, the big adventure, and they got some great talent on all of this, right? They got Teos doing the program management, project management. They got Will Doyle, one of the writers who's one of my favorite writers from 4th edition and Adventure League Adventures. And Eddie Demps, another writer. There's just a lot. I'm missing a lot of people, but a lot of good people working on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 5 acts, each one a whole level worth of adventure. So 16 victories times 5. So for me, that'd be 4 to 20 sessions of adventuring. The one part about victories being, so required to gain a level, that it kind of feels like you have to do all of it. And so I might sometimes not use all of the content if the party doesn't naturally go there. And I don't feel bad about that. Leveling them up a little bit early. And then you can go by the core rules right now. You can get the Delian Tomb for $10, and it's absolutely a steal. It is really a very, 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 very good starter set, in my opinion. You got a settlement. You have an introductory adventure that's 1 session long that you can jump into right away. Then you have a sandboxy settlement that leads to a final confrontation eventually with your main antagonist. And the players really drive how they approach it and where they explore. And there's dungeons to explore and wilderness to explore. It's really well done, in my opinion.
Does it feel like fairly grounded fantasy, or is it more of the wild out there timescape kind of stuff?
The Delian Tomb is pretty grounded. It feels like medieval fantasy. There isn't very much of it that's other than that. Crack the Sun, it looks like, like a mashup of fantasy sci-fi from Appendix N to me. John Carter of Mars and Conan the Barbarian, and just mashing all that stuff together in a way that feels very much like those books from the 50s and 60s and stuff.
And that they're trying to start it with a little bit of a traditional fantasy angle, and then
Yeah.
have you go farther and farther afield from it as the chapters go on into this other world and so on.
So you get the Draw Steel Encounters, 350-page hardback, dozens pre-made encounters ready for you to use your game instantly, immediately. Great artwork again. The maps and the first sample encounter are amazing. I don't know who's the artist. Do they say who the artist is for these? If anyone knows in the chat, throw in the chat who the artist on the maps are. Just a really cool thematic pirate cave system that you can explore. This is the level 1 adventure, a 3-room encounter. I think 3 or 4 victories in that one adventure. So 2 delves for every level of the game, 1 through 10. Just a really good looking product there. Negotiations, like Sam said, he wrote a bunch. Gives you 20 new unique NPCs to negotiate with. Montage test, 20 of those, including climbing the outside of an airship as it's falling to the ground. One of my favorite adventures from it would have been Eberron.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the airship explodes and the party's free falling down through the air and having to fight against elementals while that's happening. That was a great encounter. Heroic tests give you over 170 new specific skill tests for the game. There's 57 skills in this game. There's a lot of skills in Draw Steel.
What's a skill test?
Skill test? It'd be climbing or let's see.
Oh, okay. I guess the question is, what's a heroic test?
Let's see it. Let's go back and look at it. Heroic tests. Oh, that's probably the section name. They probably have a section of the book called Heroic Tests, which gives you 170 new specific skill tests. So heroic tests isn't necessarily specifically a thing. But then skill tests are just where you roll 2d10, add your characteristic, add 2 if you have the skill. Depending on if it's easy, medium, or hard, you're going to get success at all the time on easy, but with complications on the low roll. 12 or higher on medium, and 17 or higher on hard. So
easy is talking to the prince, and he's a fan of you, and hard is you just killed his dog.
Yeah. You stole his car and you killed his dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Unique skill tests for every skill in the game at every difficulty, with unique results for all 3 tiers. I really like how Draw Steel does insight. You know, if you come from 5th edition, insight's kind of wonky. Let me catch up here on the chat. AJ, hey, I'm hoping they decide to make a limited edition of the encounter book. Backed for everything anyway would just be a nice perk. Tom Kartos is credited as cartographer. Thank you, Sam. Yeah, he does great work. He's got a lot of really good maps out there. Okay, so back to, we were looking at, what was I talking about? Every skill, examples. Oh, insight checks. They do, it really works well for insight checks to do this because they have a kind of way of doing it. I'll share this instead. Where if you're doing an insight check and someone's, they might say it's a medium check. And if you fail, then not only do you not get any kind of insight onto what they're thinking, but they know you're trying to use insight on them, and they'll cut the conversation short or get mad or cause a fight or something like that. So there's a drawback to trying to be insightful or trying to zero in on what a person's saying. So it's not just a blanket, I want to roll an insight check, like in D&D it is, right? There's actually a negative repercussion for really paying close attention to what someone else is saying. They can note that you're doing that if you roll poorly on your insight test, which I like. I think that's a cool thing. You do the same thing in D&D just by saying if you fail by 5, there'll be repercussions for trying that. I think that's a cool thing to steal. There's a surprisingly big Eberron Draw Steel community. There's a surprising amount of thematic resonance with the two. Yeah. I mean, you know, you got that combination, that mashup of technology coming into fantasy. I think draw steal is going to turn it up to 11, as we'll see in Crack the Sun. But yeah, definitely. Okay, Dastards. Named variants of existing monsters with unique abilities, including new malice abilities for encounters. Not leaders or solos, but normal goblins, kobolds, orcs, etc. But each Dastard is unique. That's a
So
neat
an
idea.
interesting twist. Way to
a little unique NPC.
Add a spin to a combat encounter or something like that.
You can. It looks like anyone can download the preview. So let's take a look at the preview. So you're looking at the cover book, or the cover of the book. Draw Steal Encounters preview. Got your credits here. Game night saved. Layers. Okay, here's a nice list. So for every level, 2 different encounters for every level. Got Fire Giants at level 8. Level 1, you got Horizon's Grave with Undead. Silent Sands with Undead. Really cool looking stuff. And if you've got the Foes book from MCDM, I forget the title of it. Maybe it was just Foes. They had a similar thing where they had layered encounters and they were really well done.
You mean Flea Mortals?
Flea Mortals, that's it.
Yes, and then they had an encounter book of boss battles.
Yeah. Close your eyes for a second if you're a player, so you don't see all the details here, but the adventure has monster stat blocks in it. It's got the maps. It's got traps, tactics, multiple areas, a cool area with the mass of a ship, and then conclusion, and one big, huge map of the whole place. Really cool. Montages.
Yeah, nice.
Some sample montages. Sway the Crowd, Rooftop Chase. Example of negotiations with all sorts of different professions. Here's a negotiation with a Crucible Dragon. They talk about how he plays during the negotiation, what things you can find out that will be useful in your negotiation with him. That's one thing I like about how they've set up negotiations is it rewards you for researching stuff before you go into the negotiation with enemies.
Yeah, there's a tactical element that feels novel.
Yeah, and the outcomes. Here's an example of a test. Let's find one. Okay. Easy, climb a crumbling tower. The hero attempts to climb to the top of an old tower with crumbling, unusable walls. So they should succeed all the time. Only if there's like I think a time crunch would you even bother to have them roll. But if they rolled an 11 or lower, they climb the tower poorly, getting scraped and scuffed, take stamina damage before they reach the top of the tower. And then with a reward, they reach the top, and any creature they direct and climbing after them can reach the top without making a test. So there you go. And then here's a hard one, climbing a flying airship. The hero slides to the bottom of the airship. They can attempt the test again, and if they get this result again, they plummet. Hero fails to climb up the side. They can attempt the test again. Reaches the deck of the airship, and then usually they'll have a extra bonus on a 19 or 20, and that 19 or 20. Void notice over the top of the side.
I like that.
Yeah. Climbing, rigging in a storm. So yeah, they got, for climbing, 4 different examples for the climb skill that you can just kind of rob and use. Sam says there's a surprisingly big. Oh, I already got that one. Okay. How they doing on their? Let's go to the top of the Kickstarter, see how close they are. 1.14. They're 110,000 away.
Does this mean that there's a lot of folks embracing Draw Steal?
Seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And I'm sure they were probably pretty leery about doing a Kickstarter that's effectively got a lot of DM content in it, right?
Yeah.
Because that's going to sell worse than a Kickstarter that's just player content only, you would think.
True.
And they set their bar at 1.25 million, so they weren't shy to make sure they got enough for what they needed. 3,400 backers. They actually had it was a crazy amount of backers, the first Kickstarter. I want to say 30,000, but that can't be right. But they did say they have over 8,000 who were watching this. So those are probably people who haven't got their email yet, or haven't sat down at their computer yet, haven't signed up yet. Clearly, they're going to get 1.25 million and more.
How much are the print level rewards in this?
Let's take a look.
We're not seeing your page from the backer kit.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay, so we have the Encounters book. Then you have Between Sun and Shadow book, which has new ancestries. You got the Red and White rat folk. You got goblins. You got fairies. You got gnomes. That's 4, right?
4 inches tall? How is that going to play out?
Right?
8 inches tall? Something like that? They don't lack for ambition with the design, if that's how they're going to work it.
Shadow elves are 5. Scarge are 6. These are human-sized dragonfly folk. Yeah, dragonfly folk. So they don't shy away from races that can fly too.
Nope.
6 are the Ghoul. These are Neanderthal kind of like. This is a really interesting idea too. If you go back to like the BX version of D&D, and you go in the monster manual, you'll find cavemen there. And if you go to old, the old books from Appendix N, you'll find battling cavemen quite often. And in humans' ancient history, there's multiple species of humans on the earth at the same time. You had Homo sapiens, you had Neanderthals, and this brings that idea to draw steel. And I think it's kind of a really old school idea of having that kind of a thing. So a Ghoul is basically a humans, but not Homo sapiens. Native to the world, like Neanderthals, second species of human. Pretty neat idea, I think. And then you got the Heliox, which are the people who dwell on the sun, where this adventure is going to take you. And then you have the Beastheart, a whole new class. Gummy ball is what that looks like for a monster.
You can, so the Beastheart must be a Beastheart with a gelatinous spear.
Then the adventures. Okay, so then you got the 4 new adventures, Join the Dealing Tomb, and the Fall. Speaking of the Fall of Blackbottom, you can buy that now. That's a first level adventure that takes characters up to, I think, probably 2nd or 3rd. We played that way back in the alpha testing, but it looks so good in the final release and has a lot of new content. I might run that one again. Dark Heart of the Wood, 2nd level quest. Not going into a lot of detail about the adventures, is not to spoil them. The Red Road, which is not sure what level. The Condemned, which is the one where you play the
that's the Dirty Dozen / Suicide Squad one shot where you make characters specifically for the adventure and start with a Snake Plissken style implant that could kill you.
And then we have Crack the Sun. Let me catch up here real quick. 30,000. Okay, I guess I was right. So 30,000 people backed the original Kickstarter. That's amazing. The thing I like best about this game is how weird they get. Yeah, they're not going to be afraid to get weird here in Crack the Sun. And if you've seen adventures by Will Doyle, he can get pretty weird in his adventures, so he's perfect fit for this. Some of their previous videos indicate the malice mechanics helped break forever DMs out of that role and players wanting to be directors. Yeah, I have a few of the people who've played in the games I've run, but most of them are also DMs. So I can't say this brought them to want to be a DM, but admit if you're on there and you want to comment. David, what have you thought as a player? If you had never DM'd before and you sat down and you watched this game being played, what would you think?
Well, I think this is something that Teos said, that he was, during the 4th edition days, people would play the game and see all the cool things that the game master got to do with the monsters, and said, wow, I want to be able to do all that cool stuff. And they definitely steered in to emphasize that sort of quality, where the dungeon master, the director, the game master, gets to do a lot of fun things with the monsters, which I think you can contrast with the sort of slant that we were seeing in the 2024 preview stage, when they were talking about, this is going to drive your DM crazy. They're going to be so frustrated.
Yeah.
Wait,
I can't believe they did that.
It's
like, what?
The whole game community is driven by the number of people that are running games. So why do you want to make it miserable for the people who are running games? You want to make it super cool, and they seem to have succeeded with Draw Steel.
Yeah. I'm not a fan actually of meta currencies, so it doesn't draw me. It's not one of the pluses in my book to play it, but there's a lot of other pluses that make me want to play it, and I accept the meta currencies that come along with it. Some people like them though, and they are kind of cool. If you're playing at a table and you have a bowl with all that malice piled up in it, and you're not looking forward to what's going to happen to you. Okay, back to Crack the Sun. So look at that picture. That's awesome. And I think Matt said this is actually on the sun. So this is the civilization that you'll be encountering there on the sun.
That is some weird
Yep.
design there.
Yeah. Make an adventure in 5 acts, each act a whole adventure from beginning, a middle, and an end, set in Basloria. And an army of hobgoblins is marching on the city of Dalrath. They have an alliance with the Shadow Elves of Equinox, which is another world. And between the two groups, they intend to terraform Orden, which is the world you start on, making it inhospitable to humans. We'd love to explain everything we know about this adventure, but that would make this crowdfunder page almost as long as the adventure. So they made their Patreon open. And they described the whole campaign, all 5 acts, how they talked about why they wanted to do it, and their attitude and approach for it. It's really an interesting read. If you're going to be the DM for your group, and you're going to you're not going to ever play it, go check that out. It's pretty cool. Super long. A lot of detail about the approach to the adventure design.
But there's a lot of good advice or philosophy for designing big adventures like this, that of areas that are often neglected. And I alluded to this a little bit before, where the characters, the adventure doesn't establish the right motivation to lead the characters from one spot to the other, doesn't set enough leads to get them from one place to another, doesn't motivate the NPCs for what they're doing, and on and on and on. And Matt Colville in the piece outlines all these things as goals that he wants to achieve in the adventure. And I'm just so enthusiastic about an adventure that keeps that that connective tissue right on the center stage and is mindful of it throughout the design of the adventure, instead of leaving it as an afterthought or completely sort of forgetting about it and leaving it for the DM to kind of pick up the pieces and try and get the players from one spot to the next.
That's really good to hear that they're thinking about all that. And it sounded like he also talked about how they're kind of writing it sequentially, like they're not divvying out the whole thing at once to be all written at once, but they're kind of letting the earlier stages of it inform the later stages of it. Of course, they have an outline, he said, already of everything, but they won't necessarily finalize the end of it right away. So that'll help in the same regard you're talking, where they can really keep it on track for having a reason for it all to flow together. And check out this cool stuff you get when the party goes to the first extra world equinox. It is called Dark Sun in the Jungle with Drow, or Dark Elves. So that'll be cool. And that has a huge Eberron feel to it, right?
Yeah,
Because on
absolutely.
Zendrik, that's where the Drow were on
The
Zendrik, which
Drow
was
in the jungle. Yeah.
Yeah. And that monster looks really gross.
Somebody mentions in the chat that is a xenomorph, like an
Yeah.
alien sort of creature, and
It does
that's
look like
right
an
on the
alien.
nose. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So they don't hesitate to go weird. It's going to get really weird. We're really lucky to work with Teos, pro industry vet, done a lot of work for us before, wrote the Adventure in Kingdoms and Warfare, which people really liked. Managing director of Crack the Sun. Yeah, here's some names. Okay, we got Andy Demps I talked about, Paige Leitman, Ben Heisler, Alan Patrick, Will Doyle, Stacey Allen. Great team of writers there. It's going to be a really awesome adventure. Will Doyle posted, I think, on Blue Sky how he is looking forward to being part of the team and how he started with 4th edition. And this feels like a real homage to 4th edition, carrying on the legacy of it. So that's cool.
We'll got to start with Tears of the Crocodile God, which is a classic adventure that appeared in the 4th edition version of Dragon Magazine online. Really a virtuoso bit of adventure design.
I've never been that adventure, but it's a really cool looking adventure for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to look at product now. And what are the different types of products? You got the limited edition box set where it breaks the adventure out into its 5 different parts, with each part getting a little box. And they describe that in the box you'd have like a magazine style version of that chapter of the adventure, and then whatever other stuff they want to put in the box, like handouts and things of that nature. So that's pretty.
So I guess you get the pieces one at a time along the way, or do you get it all at once?
I think you'll get them. I don't know. I don't know how they'll do it for sure. You have I don't know how to say that, Chithrion edition, Crack the Sun, Trion edition. Very beautiful stuff. I don't get these things, but the average, I think, when I was looking at the Kickstarter or the backer fund or backer kit, the average was like $350 was the average
Wow.
pledge. And so let's see what you get for the $350. And these little acrylic standees are pretty cool looking. They could put one of those in each box. They got dice they're looking at. Got a dragon in there. That's really cool. A director's screen. The box also comes with its own set of draw steel dice for the director. D3, 2 Jor dice, which are D20s that are 1 to 10 twice. So we were playing with Jor dice right from the very beginning with our Homes Edition D&D.
They tout that these dice go from 1 to 10 instead of 1 to 0
to 9. Yeah, okay.
So
that's better.
Now here's a little tangent. I used to put in my dice kit some of those dice that are 0 to 10, 0 to 9, numbered twice. And I took them out eventually because I'd roll a D10 of damage, and then there'd be a panic across the table of folks who were thinking that somehow this monster was doing a D20 of damage.
Yeah.
And then I had to explain
it just says 1 to 10 twice.
10, yeah.
I use a D12 for my D4s. That's number 1 to 4 3 times.
It rolls. That's a nice nice thing.
Nice, feels good to roll it.
Yeah.
Okay. This shirt's awesome. Check that. I love that shirt. That reminds me of Arcade in 1979.
It looks like Galaga meets, I don't know. There must have been another stand-up machine that had a similar graphic to that logo.
So it feels so much more like a community right now for Draw Steel, and like we're all pulling together for the same quest that D&D doesn't have right now, because it's so many different adventures out there, and it's not like you're doing this one cool thing. Hopefully they'll get that back when they do 6th edition, when they come out with that eventually. But yeah, it really feels cool, right? It's a cool community feeling right now with Draw Steel. Okay, what else we got here? 7 products in 2026. Of course, everything's subject to change. Here's the schedule. So here's when you get the digital rewards, the PDFs, if you sign up for this. So you got 2 adventures coming in January through March. Dark Heart of the Wood, 32 pages, and The Red Road, 32 pages. And then in April through June, you get the Beast Heart, and you get the Condemned. So all your starter low-level adventures are out. And then July to September, you get the first 3 acts of Crack the Sun. The Encounters book, and Between Sun and Shadow, the Ancestries book. And then by the end of the year, you're getting parts 4 and parts 5. So it's basically their whole 2026 product catalog planned out here, which is real interesting. And like we said, there's no D&D product catalog that we were aware of. We kind of been spoiled lately for D&D, right? Where they tell us what their plans are for the whole year or 2 years in advance. And they haven't done that for this next year. And it's definitely different.
We have no idea what's coming up for D&D.
It's definitely different people running it, right? And I looked back, I said, well, someone pointed out in my Discord, our Discord, that they didn't used to tell you that stuff years in advance in D&D. And this is kind of going back to how they used to do it. So I went back and looked at the year Tomb of Annihilation came out. And that was 2017, I think. And they were right. We did not find out that Tomb of Annihilation was the hardcover that was coming out in April until January of the same year.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
But so the announcement was a huge shebang. They had
it was a huge announcement. They had
streamers coming in to play Tomb of Annihilation themed live games at a massive event. They had all sorts of signage at the Winter Fantasy or Origins conventions to really emphasize the Tomb of Annihilation theme. People in costume, actors hired in costume were at Origins. I think it was amazing.
Yeah, they really went the whole mile. So yeah, maybe we'll see in January what the plans are for next year for D&D. And we might find out we got Dark Sun coming. We might find out we got Revenger was going to be an adventure, and the Red Wizards of Thay were going to be an adventure, and all that's multiple years old. So maybe it's all fallen apart. We don't know. We don't know what's coming next year. We'll hopefully find out in January.
Right. That I'd forgotten about that. There was a Red Wizards of Thay sort of campaign adventure that they were teasing or suggesting for the future.
Okay, so you get your digital rewards all next year, spanning throughout the year. Then your hardcovers, which there'll be a hardcover for Encounters, but soft covers for the adventures and for the Ancestry book, Between Sun and Shadow. They will all ship in the last half of 2026, with the Crack the Sun hardcover coming in 2027. So you'll be waiting a little while for the hardcover for this book, Crack the Sun, but you can start playing it July through September, probably next year. And if you're in the Patreon, I bet you can start playing it much earlier than that, because they often release this stuff as an alpha version if you want to go and play it really early. And it's also all free. If you're in the Patreon, you're paying $8 a month, and something comes out that costs $8, then you get it. If something comes out that costs $16, you have to be a subscriber for 2 months to get it. And same on and up. They take the price, divide it by 8, and that's how many months ahead of time you had to have been a Patreon member to get the stuff for free. So if you start now, a lot of this will be free next year.
I noticed that that's a good deal for the patrons. I noticed that the pacing of the chapters is probably about the right speed for somebody who starts at chapter 1 when it comes out.
Yeah.
Act 1, they're calling it. And, you've got a certain number of sessions that it's going to take to play through it. And by the time you're through it, unless you're just obsessive, you're going to have Act 2 available So you're not going to be in a situation where you're going to have to wait for the next thing to come out.
Yeah. Each one of these being 16 victories for me would take about a month if we play once a week. So each one of these is a month of adventuring. And yeah, they're coming out paced to finish up the last part of the year. And between now and then, you can go play the D-Lane Tomb, which will take you 2 or 3 months. You can play the Fall of Blackbottom, which will probably take you about a month. I remember we tried to run it in one session when it was first in alpha. Now, there wasn't as much content, but I tried it in one session, and I quickly realized you cannot finish that thing in one session. I had to really shorten the very last part of it. Okay, so physical rewards, shipping logistics, team, all the dogs. What is the prices over here on the right? Okay, so I backed everything print and digital for $1.99. And I don't know if maybe I can't see the rest of my choices because I already picked.
Pledge levels, right?
Where's that? You see that?
Well, it's a tab on the top there.
Oh, okay. There we go. Perfect. Here we go. Everything under the sun bundle for $9.89.
That's a lot, but it's probably a good thing for the RPG hobby in general that people are willing to pay that kind of price for products, because it buoys the companies that are making this stuff. They can make a decent amount of money to pay their contributors well, like MCDM does, and getting a lot of entertainment value for that.
Yeah. The 3 on it, I gotta figure out how to pronounce that. Shurion edition, $5.99. Limited edition box set, $2.99. Everything print and digital, that's what I got. So I got 2 hardcovers, 4 soft covers, all the PDFs. Nothing is a special edition. If you want the multi-book special edition, you can add that, but it only comes with that. It only comes with the adventure, and this one only comes with the adventure. And the one on the far left, it comes with everything. Then you can come down here to everything digital, $135. And then you can go back and, well, these are all different versions. So Crack the Sun alone, print digital is $70. Cameras alone is $70. And that's it.
Considering the amount of stuff you're getting in there at the $199 price point, that's a pretty good value.
Yeah.
Hardcovers are going for $70 nowadays, 60, 70.
Yeah.
Throw in the soft covers and the PDFs. It's not bad.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Oh, got a new person. Thanks, Torin. Enjoying the crowdfunder. Yep. Been doing deep dives of other games. Still haven't found something that does tactical combat better than draw steel. I'd have to probably agree. It is probably the most thorough as far as, when I think of tactical combat, I think of all the ways that you can tactically gain advantage in a game, right? So it's got flanking, which is a good one. It does not have soft cover, and that's it kind of needs to not have soft cover from how many things are on the battlefield. It'd get really hard to track line of sight through. You'd never not have soft cover. So it doesn't have soft cover. What else doesn't it have? It has all the triggered actions in the world, but they go pretty quick as far as triggered attacks of opportunity go. It's got force movement, and it uses circles or squares. Everything's a square, which makes it easy to do, and I don't miss trying to figure out what a circle should look like, so I don't miss that at all. There was something else it was missing. I think it's got most everything you want, which is good. When you can kick a goblin through a solid door, all cover is soft cover. Nice.
the amount of forced movement in the game is a lot of fun and really dialed up to maximum.
It is really dialed up, and you can really take advantage of it to make the combats go faster, right? You would think, oh, this is going to make everything really slow, but you kill a lot of things a lot faster when you start throwing them into each other and throwing them into walls. And so you're having fun and shrinking the combat time down versus not doing those things. And you'd be surprised how many new players get into a game and don't utilize all of their knockback capabilities. That is a maneuver that everyone can do every single round. You can knock someone back every round, and you always knock them back at least one square, unless they have stability, in which case, if they're real stable, you might not do that. But and there's some classes like the null that just takes advantage of people, throwing them all over the place, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah. The game can be pretty prone to slowing down if you let too much table talk happen, but the more experience you get, the faster you'll go. And I have a lot of fun playing it. What are your thoughts of playing it, David?
And
I thought it was.
I haven't run it yet. Yeah, I thought it was quite a lot of fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much going on with those characters that you have to play them a few sessions before you get a real handle on what's all going on with the moving parts.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine how much more you've got to grapple with as a DM with the currencies and all the special actions that the creatures can handle.
It's the same thing as a DM. It takes a long time to learn it, right? Like if you're running a troll in D&D for the first time, you might forget that you need to have it regenerate. And speaking of that, Mike Merles had an article where he was like describing trolls he was working on, and he came up with a neat way to do regeneration. 5.5 edition of D&D, I'm off on a tangent here, but 5.5 edition of D&D, I don't know if you'll notice that, but they got rid of a lot of regeneration, and they just gave those creatures more hit points. And then Mike came out with a thing like on the troll where it doesn't die if you bring it down to less than 1 hit point, unless on that round it took fire or acid damage.
Okay.
So it kind of turns it almost into a zombie a little bit, like where you do damage to it, but it stops at 1, unless there was some fire or some acid. And so you're never tracking regeneration, which you forget half the time anyway, as the DM.
Right.
And 5.5 did that by just giving them more hit points. And if you assume a battle's going to take 4 rounds, you can just give them 4 rounds of regeneration worth of hit points, and there you go. But there's a lot of that in Draw Steel that is so much to track as DM. You'll miss a lot of it, and you'll get better and better as you play, and don't feel bad about it. The players are missing a lot of stuff too.
And nobody's noticing what you're missing.
No one's noticing, yeah. And as you get better, you'll get better. And as you really get expert, and you've run all these monsters 10 different times, watch yourself, because you might be way too good for the players.
That's
you
true.
want to maybe ease the tactics of the monsters until the players get experience with their characters. And that's something about Draw Steel too that doesn't feel bad at all, is how long it takes to level. I thought, oh man, 4 sessions of playing before you level out at first level. But boy, you're still learning stuff about your character after those 4 sessions of playing. So I don't feel like anyone missed it much that they didn't go up right away.
It's not like you need new toys for your toy box,
right?
Until you've had time to use everything.
Yeah. Real quick, let's plug your article here, Dave. You wrote a follow-on article to the initiative article that you did last week. Want to give us a quick rundown?
Well, this is me talking about some of the techniques for Draw Steel and Daggerheart, where the games have a player-driven initiative where the players basically decide who goes next. And some of this we talked about last week. I'm outlining Teos's great-looking prop that he uses for tracking initiative in Draw Steel. Your technique for using a VTT and tracking initiative for who's able to go. A little bit of advice at the end. I'm a firm believer that you need a default order for your initiative. And then if nobody sees a good reason to jump to the front of the line, then just go around the table, go around the sequence that happens to be in your initiative tracker and say, okay, Terry, you're next. Go.
Yeah. And they can always adjust if they want to adjust.
Absolutely.
Very good. Are you going to do another article on this? Yes. Some good ideas for between turn ideas.
So next week it'll be something about cyclic initiative. That's the sort of initiative that's in Pathfinder and, of course, Dungeons and Dragons. And then in 2 weeks, I'll be talking about some ideas for potential rules or house rules for things that can happen between rounds in initiative.
Yeah.
That's a design space that D&D and not many other games explore, but I think there's a lot of good stuff that could enhance combat by fitting it in between the rounds.
Yeah, I liked some ideas you had shared with me. I'm going to be stealing some of those. So check that out, our article out in a couple weeks from David, and the one before it next week, and this one this week at dmdavid.com.
Appreciate that, Tom.
You bet. And then you can grab my quick reference sheet here that I did for Draw Steel. It's in a link in the description below. And if you leave any product review or anything and you find any errors, I'm happy to correct those and get that updated. This is kind of a labor of love that I started way back when we were doing alpha testing on the game to just try and get up to speed on how it works. So I tried to grab everything that was important. I got combat, your turn, and your actions, your maneuvers, your moves, how movement works, all the different attack modifiers, and there are a lot of them. You know, if you're trying to figure out, okay, does restrain do something to me? Does being surprised do something to me? Does being hidden grant me anything? Or if the target's hidden, does that cause any trouble? It's all there for you. And montages and negotiations in shorthand. Negotiations are pretty straightforward if you kind of have an outline of how they work. And so this gives you that. So you can check that out. And that's
an impressive piece of work there, Tom. This must have taken a lot of time to comb through all those rules to get all that stuff out of there. And plus, as a bonus, with you abbreviating UR as UR and U as U, it feels like a handy reference sheet designed by Prince for Draw Steel. So got that going for you.
Yeah. All right. Let's see how they're doing. I think they are 100,000, less than 100,000 away from reaching their goal. So I bet they make it there tonight, or definitely by tomorrow morning.
If a fraction of these folks run these games after buying into the mostly DM stuff and this backer kit, that says great things about the health of Draw Steel as a system going forward.
Yeah, it feels so much more engaging of the whole gaming community. Oh, Cade's here. Hey, Cade. I'm late. What did I miss? Everything important, except for the thank you very much. Veritable Picasso rules for his canvas. Thank you. What was I saying? Oh, it really feels like it's got a lot more engagement from the community. There's been some big, huge Kickstarters that haven't got much engagement as far as I can tell. For sure, the one that was like the Last Airbender one. Is that? I don't know. It wasn't Last Airbender, but it was something like that that got like over $9 million and no one knows of anyone who plays it. Cosmere's having some trouble. I don't see a lot of Cosmere engagement happening. Daggerheart's got some engagement. It's got, of course, a really strong fan base. And it's not, it's a very unique rule set. And it's got some stuff I really like about it, the DM side of monsters and such. And, of course, players really like some of the player stuff. But MCDM is really engaging the community. They got their Delian Tomb. They got the Road to Broadhurst, which is free, so you can really jump in and start a campaign. They got the Fall of Blackbottom, another one that you can start a campaign with. And by the time you're done with those campaigns next year, they'll have their encounter books coming out. If you get on the Patreon, you'll be able to get those adventures earlier. And they got one free one already out, preview of one. So, and they need that. Any system needs that kind of engagement from the community, and they have a lot of people creating stuff for them. That's another huge aspect of making sure something gains traction. Shadow Dark's got that in spades. They got a lot of people really engaged in the Shadow Dark game, and that was huge for that game in order for it to have legs and keep going. And it feels like they're getting the same kind of engagement with Draw Steel. They're certainly doing the right things to get it.
You mentioned that it's a little bit maybe surprising or unusual that this backer kit campaign appeals mostly to directors, to the game masters of the game, but that's the sort of content that's essential for giving the game legs, because that encourages people to try and run it and to keep running it week to week, session to session over the course of a year or more.
And it's, it's kind of small right now, but it really feels like you got people you can bounce ideas off of. You're all running the same stuff. Like I'll talk to Teos about what he's encountering as he's running through Delian Tomb. And of course we have Sean, who joins us some of the time, who actually wrote a big chunk of the Delian Tomb. So that was interesting. And so it just feels so much more like a community right now. Than for me, D&D feels like. And I hope D&D gets that feeling back. They certainly had it, I felt like, in the early 5th edition, where we're all doing the same hardcover. We're all doing the same Adventure League adventure beside the hardcover. And now it's like there's just so much choice. No one's doing the same thing. So anyway, done preaching about Draw Steel. Great system, great adventures. Go check it out. If you haven't played it, join our Discord. I'm running games every now and then. I post when I have openings in games. Other DMs run games. They post when they have openings in games. So you can get into a Draw Steel game or a D&D game or a Shadow Dart game or anything like that. So thank you everyone for watching. Thanks, David.